The one where Chandler takes a bath is the 13th episode of the 8th season of Friends. This is directed by Ben Weiss, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And in general, as always, it's a good episode. Definitely not a personal favourite, but there's certainly nothing wrong with it. And I'll talk about each part of the narrative in turn. I will talk about, I think I'll talk about Ross and Rachel first, and then Chandler, and then Joey. Ross and Rachel are discussing baby names. Phoebe suggests Phoebe and Phoebo, and Ross and Rachel can't decide on names, so they each get a veto, but then they just constantly keep vetoing the names. They then go to their next appointment, and they have the opportunity to learn about the sex of the baby, and they don't want to know. Rachel sneaks a peek, but she doesn't see the name. At least I think it's pretty obvious that she didn't know, and Ross isn't convinced. So Ross does something that I think is kind of unacceptable, but if he genuinely believed Rachel knew, then I can understand why he'd do this. Ross went and found out the sex of the baby. But what he did next, I think, is absolutely unforgivable, because he said, and this is of course a spoiler for the sex of the baby, he said, "Come on, you know it's a girl." And Rachel's response very clearly proved that she did not know it was a girl. And we find out the sex of the baby, and it's just absolutely adorable. And they're having a little girl, which is, I think it makes it feel more real now they know the sex of the baby. They can start thinking of baby names, and, well, I honestly liked Ruth. I thought Ruth was a really, really sweet name, and when Ross said little Ruthie Geller, I thought that sounds adorable. So personally, I'm Team Ruth, but Ross actually ends up vetoing it at the end. So that's quite exciting. We have a step forward, and it's really nice to see them both being really excited about this and having this shared experience. Yes, they're Ross and Rachel. Yes, they were and weren't on a break. They were on a break, but Ross still did something bad. But it's nice to see them bonding and spending quality time together without the anxiety of wondering if they're going to get back together. Is this a bad decision? Because even if raising a child together is a bad decision, which I don't think it is for Ross and Rachel, at the end of the day, this is what's happening, and I think they're just absolutely making the best of this situation and working together, and it's really lovely to see. We then come to Chandler. Chandler has a bath. He has a bath Monica style and finds it very relaxing, so he tries to run his own bath, and he mixes the wrong scents, and it doesn't go according to plan, and then he ends up stealing Monica's bath. And we have a really great scene where Chandler's in the bath, and Monica finds him in the bath, and then one by one all of the others start to arrive, and this is when Ross and Rachel reveal they're having a girl. And it's a great scene. I think the pacing of that scene, bringing in each character one by one, them reacting to Chandler and his bath and things that might be visible underneath the bubbles, it was good fun. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice padding for the main narrative, and I thought it worked really, really well. So obviously no issues there. And then we come to Joey, and this is where I maybe have a little issue. Not so much with how they've handled it. If they wanted to tell this part of the narrative, then I think they did a reasonable job with it. But I just don't know how I feel about this storyline. I don't love it. And this is the fact that Joey thinks he's in love with Rachel. It starts off with Joey eating his cereal with some internal monologue where he's just telling himself, it's just a crush, it's not a big deal. She's your friend, Rachel. Rachel comes out of her room and he goes to himself, hey, it's your girlfriend, Rachel. So clearly his pep talk didn't go according to plan. I do think he did the right thing. He went to talk with Monica and Chandler, but he didn't really have the words to express what he was feeling, so the talk didn't exactly go according to plan. But Monica and Chandler deduced that he wants to do with somebody what they did in London. Become friends, sleep with them, start a relationship. And they assume that it's Phoebe. Why would they assume it's Phoebe? I don't know. I guess maybe they just thought that since Rachel's having a baby with Ross, there's no way Joey could throw in some complicated feelings into the mix. And they talk with Phoebe. And then Phoebe goes to talk with Joey. And I do like the fact that they very quickly let Phoebe know, by they I mean Joey, very quickly let Phoebe know that it was Rachel. So Phoebe didn't have to embarrass herself too much. And Phoebe's response was actually quite funny. And then it ends with Joey telling himself, again, eating cereal, that it's just a crush, he'll get over it. And then Rachel comes out of her room and he says, I love you, again, to himself. And I don't know how I feel about this. I don't think I like it. I think, it's not that I don't think Joey could have these feelings for Rachel. Absolutely, that's not it. It seems Honestly, I think it's because I don't like seeing Joey hurt. I think that's what it is. I don't want Joey to have these feelings that are going to complicate things if he acts on them. I don't like him feeling something where he maybe can't act on it. So I think that's my problem. It's not how they've handled it. If they wanted to do this narrative, which clearly they did, I think they handled it in a really good way. But I just don't necessarily like the fact that it exists at all. So I don't love it. But I guess I have to admit that if they were going to do it, which they did, then I think they've handled it the right way. And I'll say no more about that. So in general, there is nothing wrong with this episode, but it does make me feel a little uneasy, or I guess unhappy with how Joey's feeling. But that aside, the one where Chandler takes a bath is still a really great, really fun episode of Friends. Personal highlights, Rachel's reaction when she found out they were having a girl. I still don't agree with what, that's difficult to say. I still don't agree with what Ross did, but that moment was really beautiful. And all of the different baby names, that was a lot of fun. I still think little Ruthie Geller is absolutely adorable as a name. And Chandler when he stole Monica's bath, I thought that was very funny. And just the bathroom scene with everybody pouring into the bathroom and observing Chandler and his bubbles and his boat. So a lot of really good moments. The Joey story makes me feel uneasy, but as I said, if they were going to do it, I think they did it the right way. So, in general, the one where Chandler takes a bath, all things considered, is still a pretty decent episode of Friends.